Alright, hi. You guys know what kind of video this is for today. As I always do, every 3 months or so, and especially in the months where we have a seasonal change officially, just like what we did in March, we're going to do it here in June, and that means the next one won't be until September. So, today we're going to go over the current makeup of the federal government, and there are a lot of changes. So, like always, we're going to start over in the legislative branch, which is Congress. We are currently in the 119th Congress, and of the 119th Congress, we are currently in the second session. And yeah, we do have the midterms going on, or prepping for this year, but even with all of those primaries, we got some changes with those. But we'll go over those here in a little bit. So starting over in the Senate, we have all seats are filled, so there are no vacancies. In the current composition of the Senate, as of March 24th of this year, we have 53 Republicans, 45 Democrats, and 2 independents. And like how I said, no vacancies. The 2 independents clause along with the Democrats, so it's really 53-47. But, you know, it's up for your interpretation on that. Party leaders. So the President pro tempore, which is the 4th most powerful person in the government, which is usually the senator of the majority party with the longest amount of service. In this case, it is currently Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa, and he is Republican, who, by the way, is 95 years old. The current majority leader is Republican John Thune of South Dakota. Yeah. Minority leader is Democrat Chuck Schumer of New York. Now, since I did say there are midterms going that are in preparations for this year in November, there are kind of 3 special elections that will be happening this year. We have one for Ohio 3, which is technically up for re-election technically in 28. Same thing with Florida 3. They're kind of in that same spot too. And Oklahoma 2, which is technically up for grabs this year. But obviously for those seats, they had to be vacated in order to become a new office. For Ohio 3, that was then Senator J.D. Vance. You know, obviously he had to resign in order to become vice president. Florida 3, that seat held by Marco Rubio. He had to resign in order to become Secretary of State. And Oklahoma 2 had to be vacated because the holder of that seat, Republican Markwayne Mullin, had to resign in order to become Secretary of Homeland Security. So Oklahoma 2, to be elected in an upcoming general election following appointment, it is Alan Armstrong that has been appointed by the governor of Oklahoma to fill in the rest of that seat. So technically, the election for that seat is technically still up for grabs, but it's more than likely going to be a Republican. It's registered as a safe Republican seat. Now for Ohio and Florida, they're considered special elections, and they will take place this year because the appointed incumbents of those seats, being John Husted of Ohio and Ashley Moody of Florida, are especially in Florida, Moody is expected to hold onto that seat until the seat actually becomes up for grabs in 28. In Ohio, it's a little different. A little bit of a different story up here in Ohio. Because as of right now, as this point is, if it being this video being recorded, most sources see the Ohio Senate race being as a quote-unquote toss-up, with the lean Republican. So, yeah. It's pretty much a toss-up, honestly, at this point. So who knows what will happen. Over in the House of Representatives, we have quite a lot of changes here. As of June 10th, that was about, like 17 days ago, something like that. We currently have 218 Republicans, 212 Democrats, one independent, that clauses with the Republicans, and 4 vacancies. We'll get to the vacancies here in a little bit. The Speaker is Republican Mike Johnson of Louisiana 4. The Majority Leader is Republican Steve Scalise, also of Louisiana, but of the 1st District. The Minority Leader is Democrat Hakeem Jeffries of New York 8. And just like how I mentioned before, there are 4 vacancies. So let's talk about the vacancies here real quick. Going in order of when they occurred. Starting out with California 14. They had a special election on June 16th, which was a little over 10 days ago. And according to California rule, all the candidates have to be on a ballot together, nonpartisan. The winner of the race goes to whoever gets 50% of the vote. And if not, the top 2 of the list move on to a runoff, which is exactly what happened. Because if we go over here to California 14, the top 2 candidates, Aisha Wahab and Melissa Hernandez, neither of them got 50% of the vote, but they were the 2 highest in terms of percentages and number of votes. So those 2 will go up against each other in a runoff to basically who will hold on to that seat. The runoff for that election is scheduled for August 18th. So more information on that will come out later. The second one that I have, Texas 23, the incumbent there, which was Tony Gonzalez, resigned after he admitted that he had a sexual relationship with one of his staffers that eventually committed suicide. It's unlikely to know when the primary will act, or the special election will occur. More than likely, it will probably happen in the general election. That's when this race will probably be filled, more than likely. The incumbent for California 14 was Eric Swalwell, who had to resign based on sexual assault allegations. Moving down the list, Florida 20. That seat became vacated when the incumbent, Sheila Sherfilis McCormick, resigned due to money laundering allegations, and a special election has yet to be determined. Same thing over in Texas. So, who knows when that will actually happen, or if it'll actually happen. But she is technically still on the ballot for re-election. So, whether or not she actually wins her seat back, who knows? And the last state with a vacancy is in Georgia. We're going over to Georgia 13. The incumbent, David Scott, died. So they have finally announced a date for the special election, which is scheduled to take place on July 28th. it does say here that if a majority is not reached, then there will be a runoff on August 25th. So I need to make sure I put that down on the oh wait, no, I do have it. Okay, never mind. So that is the House of Representatives. But since in California 14, the two runoff candidates are both Democrat, it effectively means that the Democrats will gain a seat, which will make the technical number of the House 218 Republicans, 213 Democrats, 1 independent, and 3 vacancies, which would effectively make the full number of the House 432. Sorry, I just like doing that every time. So let's talk about the primaries for the midterms. As of right now, late June of 2026, 8 incumbents in either House of Congress and of both parties, split evenly, so 4 and 4, were defeated in their respective primaries. Over in the Senate, we only have 2 that were defeated. In Louisiana, Senator Bill Cassidy was defeated. He's been in office since 2015, so he will end his congressional term in January. And in Texas, John Cornyn was defeated in his primary to his challenger in a runoff against the Attorney General of Texas, Ken Paxton. John Cornyn has been in the Senate since 2002, and he will leave in January. Now, jumping over to the House of Representatives, there are a total of 6 that have lost re-election, 2 of which are Republican, and the 4 most recent added to the list here are all Democrat. In Texas, too, we have Dan Crenshaw, or who I like to call Eye Patch Guy. He was elected in 2019, and he lost his re-election. One of the most controversial and most polarizing primaries ever, at least that I can think of in recent times. Kentucky 4, the incumbent Thomas Massie was defeated by Ed Gallrein, even though Gallrein never technically showed up to any and all debates. Massie has been in Congress, and he won through a special election in 2012, and he will serve the rest of his term until January. And he has stated that he is prepared to go scorched earth to go up against AIPAC and the Epstein files, but we'll see how that happens. And so the rest of here on out are all Democrat. In 2 states, starting out in Texas, the 18th seat, we have Al Green was defeated in his runoff primary against one of the incumbents that were elected in a special election. But he had to run for that seat due to redistricting. He's been in office since 2005, and he will leave in January. Also in Texas, in the 33rd District, Julie Johnson will end up becoming a 1-term congresswoman. Yeah, she was elected in the last cycle. And, she took office last year. More recently, in New York, and these all happened during the primaries this week. Up in New York 10, Dan Goldman will end up becoming a 2-term congressman elected in 22 during the last midterms. He was elected in 23. Well, he took office in 23. And in the 13th district, we have Adriano Espaillat. He's been in office since 2017. And, well, he's going to be in Congress for only 10 years. So, those are all the incumbents that were defeated for the midterms of this year. Will there be more? I don't know. There's really not that many state primaries left, so we'll have to see exactly what happens. Moving over to the executive branch with the line of succession. So, pretty much all of the people listed are going to be Republican unless stated otherwise. So, president is still Trump. He's been in office since January 20th of last year. Vice president still J.D. Vance. Obviously, January 20th of last year. Speaker of the House, as mentioned before, it is Mike Johnson since the 25th of October of 23. President pro tempore, as mentioned before, is Chuck Grassley since January 3rd of last year. All right, so now we go into the cabinet. And again, all these guys are all Republican unless noted otherwise. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, since January 21st of last year. The Treasury, Scott Bessent, since January 28th of last year. Defense, Pete Hegseth, since the 25th of January of last year. Attorney General. Well, as we all know, Pam Bondi was kicked out several months ago. And currently, it is Trump's former personal attorney, Todd Blanche, as the acting attorney general. But he has tapped Lee Zeldin to be the next head. When will the Senate take that up? I don't know. It's all up to John Thune. I'm not going to put a party for them since they're technically not in office. So that's why I have them as blank for our party, even though they're more likely Republican. Interior, we have Doug Burgum since February 1st of last year. Todd Blanche has been acting Attorney General since April 2nd of this year. Just for everyone's, own sanity. Agriculture, we have Brooke Rollins. She's been in office since February 13th of last year. Commerce, we have Howard Lutnick since February 21st of last year. Labor, well, the Secretary of Labor, Brooke DeReamer, resigned apparently due to family health reasons or something like that. And the acting Secretary of Labor is Keith Sonderling, and he's been acting since 4/20 of this year. Secretary of Health and Human Services, since the 13th of February of last year, it is Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is an independent. Not a Republican, independent. But he classes with the Republicans, presumably. Okay. Housing and Urban Development. It is Scott Turner since the 5th of February of last year. Transportation. It is Sean Duffy since January 28th of last year. Energy. We have Chris Wright, spelled with a W, since the 4th of February of last year. Education, which is Linda McMahon, since the 3rd of March of last year, which, by the way, it's been come to my attention that there are impeachment articles drafted up against her. It's only a total of 3, so more likely next Friday that would probably be the video I will, do that in. Just so everyone's well aware on that. Into the future. But anyways. For Veterans Affairs, Doug Collins, since February 5th of last year. And Homeland Security, we have, as I mentioned before, Mark Wayne Mullen since March 23rd of this year. And, you know, just like always and just for fun, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court is John Roberts. He is an independent, and he has been in office since September 29th of 2005. Which takes us over to the judicial branch and the Supreme Court. So, going back over to John Roberts here real quick, and he did have an article of impeachment resolution introduced against him. I've already done it here on this channel. I'm sure you guys can find it. But John Roberts is the Chief Justice. He was appointed by George W. Bush in a confirmation vote of 78-22, and he began his term on September 29th of 2005. Clarence Thomas, appointed by George H.W. Bush with a confirmation vote of 52-48, and he's been in office since the 23rd of October of 1991. Samuel Alito, appointed by Bush Jr., vote of 58-42, and has been in office since January 31st of 2006. Sonia Sotomayor, appointed by Obama, with a vote of 68-31, and she's been in office since August 8th of 2009. Elena Kagan, appointed by Obama, with a vote of 63-37, and she started her term on August 7th of 2010. Neil Gorsuch, appointed by Trump, with a vote of 54-45, and he began his term on April 10th of 2017. Brett Kavanaugh, also appointed by Trump, with a vote of 50-48, and he started his term on October 8th of 2018. Next up, Amy Coney Barrett, also appointed by Trump, with a confirmation vote of 52-48, and she began her term on October 27th of 2020. And most recent addition to the Supreme Court, Ketanji Brown Jackson, appointed by Biden, with a vote of 53-47, and she began her term on June 30th, 2022. Now, normally this is where we would end off the video, but there's one last thing I do want to go over. Candidates for the next presidential cycle of 2028. Yeah, I know, it's kind of early to kind of be talking about this, but I technically never mentioned it here on YouTube yet, even though I've already have on Facebook, but not really on, like, Instagram and TikTok or Snapchat. Anyways, as of late June of 2026, we officially have at least one candidate that's officially running for president in 2028. For the Republican side, we have Dan Greaney. He is from California, and he is apparently a writer for The Simpsons. We do have some people that have expressed interest of the Republican Party, and they are in alphabetical order by last name. We have Senator Ted Cruz of Texas, Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida, Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana, Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Vice President J.D. Vance. Although it is mentioned that Marco Rubio won't run for president if Vice President Vance runs. We have a couple that are speculated by the media and a few that have declined of the Republican side. And we do have a person that has formed an exculpatory committee on whether or not if he, yes it is a guy, if he can run for president. But we're not going to go over that. For the Democrat side, no one has officially announced their candidacy. We do have 7 people that have expressed interest in running for president, and we're going to go over those here real quick. They are in alphabetical order by last name: Governor Andy Beshear of Kentucky, Hunter Biden, former Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg, former Ambassador to Japan Rahm Emanuel, Senator Ruben Gallego of Arizona, former Vice President Kamala Harris, Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona, Congressman Ro Khanna of California 17, former Senior Advisor to the President Mitch Landrieu, Don Lemon, Governor Gavin Newsom of California, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez from New York's 14th District, Senator Elisa Slotkin of Michigan, Senator Chris Van Hollen of Maryland, and Governor Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan. Again, we do have some people that are speculated by the media, and we have quite a list of people that have refused and declined to run. And lastly, what we're going to go over today, the independent and third party, candidates and people. There are officially no candidates of that sort. We do have one person that has formed an exploratory committee for the same reason as the Republican. We have 2 that have expressed interest, which are one you kind of would see, but the other is kind of a wow, that actually happened. We have an alphabetical order by last name, or at least stage name, Afro Man, yeah, remember him, and Andrew Yang. Who is Afro Man? Well, he is the guy that's put out the wonderful, great song Because I Got High in the early 2000s. Yeah, it's that guy. As of right now, no one has been speculated to run by the media, and 6 people have stated that they will not run under that, form of party ticket. So that's where we currently stand in terms of the presidential election and where we stand in the current makeup of the federal government. So thank you all so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you on Monday. And we're going to go over to the Middle East with Lebanon and kick off our next, couple episodes. But Wednesdays is a very special one. We'll see you then.